Good morning, Tartaria, Australia, Brisbane live event. Hey. We are sitting here in the studio with JCK and Autodidactic, of course, doing a bit of a pre-recording session to open up this amazing event that you've all gathered here today. And so excited to be standing here in person. So, guys, welcome to Brisbane live event, our little community special.
I'm so excited. I wish I was there with you all and hugging and kissing and all of that. Hello. Yes. And Brisbane, what's with the no daylight savings? Because owls don't like it. That's the thing they say, right?
I don't like the curtains, JC. Come on.
I don't like daylight savings. It confuses the hell out of me.
So, guys, like obviously everyone would love you to be here today, and so this was our sort of like attempt at being here in person together as we amp up for the live in February, where we actually launched the national tour, which I hope you guys are all coming to again. So guys, well, look, welcome to the live event, and we're really sorry you're not here in person, but say hi to your audience.
Howdy, folks. How's the heat? Is it stinking hot there? I heard you don't have AC.
I wish I was there too.
Yeah, no aircon. So
I hope it's
I'm gonna put it into the future that it is a cool day right now. Is it a cool day, everyone?
Yeah, is it a cool day?
Isn't it strange? Like at this point, you're actually standing in front of us who are talking behind you, but you're actually in front of us. So hi, Kelly, on the stage.
Hi, Kelly. Your ass looks very nice from this perspective.
So guys, we gathered here at the Windsor Bowls Club, which is an old style little quirky little community bowls club in just out of Brisbane CBD, and everyone's gathered here. So I thought we'd just launch into basically just having a chat and seeing what comes out of it. Like you know, I'm pretty sure, though I haven't checked yet with the audience, that everyone's pretty up to date with Tartaria and where we stand with the Quantum Truth Tartaria work. It's an excellent wiring and firing audience, and I think everyone's pretty like good with the information to this date. So I would love us to like try to stretch a little bit further. And the last podcast that Cambell and I did, which is on my mind personally, is, you know, what are dreams? Where do they come from? What the fuck are they? How come we don't talk about it? No one knows what they are, and we do it every single night. And I thought I'd love to get a conversation started in that realm. So anyone got any thoughts they'd like to offer?
Well, this is a question I've probably been asking myself since I was a kid, because I'm a very visual person, and I know that there are certain people out there who don't remember their dreams, or they say they dream in black and white, and that never made sense to me, because I always had very vivid, naturally good at lucid dreaming. As you know, with my astral journeying, it's pretty much that. It's pretty much you going into a theta state and sort of doing some sort of lucid dreaming while I'm sitting upright. And there's and also always colorful, always full of color and full of like dimension. And then you tap on, you talk about these wild, incredible, otherworldly, other dimensional, interdimensional spaces that seem to occur in the dream state. And then you tap into the whole concept of the secret space program, which is what I didn't know much about that. And look, I know a lot about a lot of stuff, but when I first started my channel, I knew nothing about space stuff because I never bought into it. And I just think that that's a little bit, there's something else to explain that stuff. And so I got bombarded with emails from people saying, I saw you in my dream. I know who you are. They saw me in dreams years ago. I have one guy in my Telegram group who's an avid audience member of mine, and he's from New York, and he claims, when I was 13 years old, I dreamed about you. I saw you. It's your face. Your face triggered this. He goes, everything changed for me when I was 13, and I saw your face in my dream. And when I saw you again on screen, it triggered his awakening. So there's something about this other world that we enter into when we close our eyes that is tapping into other dimensions, other spaces in time. Perhaps it's even tapping into the potential of everything and we're tapping into the mind of God who is dreaming. And I would also say that, so back to these emails I received, I had emails from all over the world, people telling me that they had a dream about me, and I'm not kidding. They were saying, and you're a commander on a ship, or no, a general on a ship. And these are like different people, don't know each other. I saw you last night in a dream, you're a general on a spaceship. So what is this? What is this? And then we get other people coming in and saying, that's because you're in the secret space program. So what is that? Is it consciousness being taken somewhere, or is that the real world and we're just dreaming this world?
Yeah, exactly. That's the age-old question. And like, how often do we even linger on that question and think about it? But it's like 1/2 of our day has been regulated, and we don't even know if sleeping is a thing that's come with the reset. We don't even know if sleeping has started with the reset and this whole day and night. You've seen the movie Dark City, JC, where they it's always nighttime and they put everyone to sleep and they change the city around, and like, we don't know if sleeping and dreaming was a result of a reset, or if it was something that has been always through this biological experience in this realm. And then we don't know what the dream thing is, because I mean, we cannot attest they are vivid, they are emotional, you're in them, you can feel like you're in them for a very long time and live a whole experience, like with which feels like time's involved, and then we wake up and it's like bang. It just, unless they're really emotionally charged ones and they stay with you and they linger for days. Some of mine have lingered for years.
Yes.
But like, this happens to us every day almost, and we don't even know what's happening or where it's coming from. So which reality is the reality we're trying to stay in or get to or become or experience? Like,
exactly,
what are we in this? Yeah.
And where is our consciousness placed? Is it only where we are? Is it good or bad? And then this
because
taps
Tesla
into
used to not sleep a lot. Buckminster Fuller slept an hour and a half a day, and those dudes would obviously tapping into the universal mind with all their ideas and stuff. So is that because they were less in the dream state? Maybe.
Well, then you've got Leonardo da Vinci as well. They claim that he said that he only slept a few hours a night. I remember that very famous Seinfeld episode where Kramer tries to replicate not sleeping and then he starts to go slightly crazy. We do know that when you do sleep, it's essential to sleep, because there's something like these toxins that are released in our system, and
melatonin, is it?
No, they're not removed. The toxins are not removed unless you sleep. And so it starts to build up, and that's what gives you that really horrible feeling when you haven't slept. And so you need to sleep in order for that to be cleared out of your system.
I wonder what happened if you can, maybe they push through that, because I mean, it's a kind of a theme, isn't it? Through all these, very not talented, but the people who are talented but put out a lot of work. That's a theme that they don't sleep a lot.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Maybe it's quality, not quantity. And then
quality.
What about...
Well, I mean, they sleep, but not much, and quality.
What about people who smoke a lot of pot? I know that there's certain strains of marijuana that I'm not sure if it's for all of them, but nearly everyone I know. I had an ex-boyfriend who used to smoke a lot of pot because he didn't want to remember his dreams. He didn't want to remember his dreams because he was suffered from very bad nightmares. So he would smoke to forget his dreams. And I know that that's a theme. I have heard many people who regularly take marijuana who say to me they can't visualize when they're whether it's medical marijuana or whatever, they can't visualize when they're meditating, or they can't be hypnotized because of they can't get into that state because of the marijuana they're taking. So what does that mean? Does that mean we're stuck? If this is the dream and the dream world is the real world, does that mean this person is trying to stay in this world if they're trying to block out their dreams? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you know, I
Well,
watched
I mean,
this. Oh, sorry, go Campbell. Yeah,
no,
little
you go.
delay. We've all
No, I
come
was
to
just going
love. No, go
to,
on.
I
Wait,
mean,
go on.
well, nightmares, right? Apart from the fact that, it's a horse. What are nightmares? A lot of people have good experiences and enjoy their dreams, but a lot of people don't have a good experience. And the
Yeah.
other thing is, we do get a lot, especially through the music world, right, of people getting songs while they're asleep and getting all these different information. But now, looking now, I would say that most of those people are tied to the nefarious side, right? So I don't know. I mean, we need, because we've been told, right? Because we link dreaming at night with dreams, as far as that's what I want, the best thing, but are they the same?
Yeah, no, I would say they're not. I was doing some research on lucid dreaming the other night, and I was watching some clips, which I'm going to show. And the technique they were using, there was a few different techniques, but one of them was basically you wake yourself up every 30 minutes and stay awake for 10 minutes and then go back. And that brought on lucid dreaming really strongly. The other, which was sort of like the quick erratic jump in between the two realms, actually brought on this much more intensified experience. So what's that? And because that may lead to a question around, are they, is there a line where they're totally integrated and have become one? And is that sort of a gateway there? Is that something to talk about? So hold that thought. And then they were talking about also this sensory process where they literally put on ping pong balls, cut ping pong balls onto their eyes, they'd tape them up, and they'd put white noise on. So their eyes could be open or shut, white noise. And then literally after 15 minutes, they're in this hallucinative experience, like apparently much stronger than any drug. And all of the experiences that were being reported, they were all jumping between seeing sort of like tall entities, tall, kind of dark, and would induce in half the people anxiety and panic, and they had a really stressful experience. And then the other half were having sort of like, the more trippier hallucinatory experience, but it was intense stuff. And it was like what your brain will actually project when it is sensory deprived, where its eyes are open, it's being shut out, there's a peripheral white dome over your eyes, and it's white noise being played. So your brain, you're kind of seeing how dreams are constructed. You're seeing in that way a construction.
Like we've got to, because we project our reality, right? Literally, we create it. So when we don't get that feedback back to us that's confirming what we're seeing is interacting, we can interact with it, then the brain's like, woohoo, right? Wow. Same thing as mushrooms, LSD, ayahuasca, which is interesting because they're all very, they talked about that state is like the dream state.
DMT, which is produced by the lungs. So when you're asleep, in deep enough sleep, your lungs will produce DMT, which is the same thing that is in ayahuasca, that produces the visions of that world. What do they call the ayahuasca realm? I forget what it's called, but that realm is, a lot of people believe that is that sort of hyper reality is where we come from. Who knows?
I've just had a thought. All right, check this one out, guys. See what you think. So going off the back of what you were just saying there, Campbell, like if the observer isn't able to observe the reality that it's in, then as our creator beings, because we're creator beings, our brain has to start filling in the detail because we're not observing reality. So is that what dreams are? Like, is it
yes, I understand
what life is. Like, because is life just the dream of the creator, and then we're doing the same thing a fractal down, and so we have to go into creator mode, right? Because we're creators. So when there's nothing there, we just create our own reality, which is also what happens to crazy people, right?
Well, if you think about this, right, this is what my belief about the creator is. Okay, so the source of all things has created everything that ever was in existence in perpetuity. Okay, so it's just imagine a vinyl record collection that goes into eternity, okay? And us as the creator beings, the one step down or whatever, however many steps down from source, gets to go out and pick out any record we like and play that in whatever sequence we like every single day. And that's essentially what's happening when we are creating. That's essentially what's happening, is we get to pick out any kind of variation of that at any time of the day. And so when you're saying that if we are sensory deprived, what does our brain do? It still has access. In fact, it has a closer access to source. To source. Woo! He coughed and disappeared. As to source, so we still have access to source and all things that ever were. We have we go into delta when we're asleep. So we're going to the brainwave state of delta when we're going to sleep. Hypnosis is theta state. So even in that deeper delta state, we have a closer connection to source, I believe. And just as you're coming out of that dream state, you actually get those. Have you ever had those experiences of massive downloads? It's almost like yourself is talking to yourself, your higher self is talking to yourself, and you're getting these psychic sort of premonitions as you're waking up. That's the most psychic part of your sleep. That is saying essentially it's your ego's not there. Your brain is tapped in. It's really tapped into your higher self. And so it's accessing all of this true knowledge. So I would say I don't necessarily think that your brain is creating things. What did you say, Kelly, about the brain creating?
Yeah. When the observer isn't being able to observe reality in front of it, that it then the creator then fills in the details, because we're creator beings.
Yeah.
So if
and
the
that's what
observer
happens anyway. We know
is being
that.
deprived,
Yeah. But I also think it's accessing.
That's a good point, because
I think it's accessing things from source.
Because we get, what do they say? We get 50,000 bits of information a second, but we can only process 4,000. So literally, we're only seeing 5% anyway, and that's our brain constructing that together. So when it's got no boundaries to construct from, it just constructs from your imagination, I guess, rather than your memory. Yeah. And I mean, I think we've got to talk about the sun. You mentioned that the early morning, when you wake up, is the most psychic time, and that's when the sun's coming up, right? And it's also, that's the time that you can do sun gazing, right? Because it's on the, I wonder, and then of course at nighttime, no sun, right? When we dream. So what's the connection there?
Hopefully, if you're not a shift worker, it still happens no matter what time. No, that melatonin kicking in, maybe, or is it melatonin? What is it that wakes you up? Serotonin kicking in so that you wake up, right?
So melatonin. Sorry,
Does that mean that the meeting point I'm thinking about, that place where the two worlds become perfectly aligned, is the moment you're talking about, JC, where the psychic abilities, the dream times tapped in? Is that Listen, where it becomes one? I'm
telling you, everything goes back to simulation theory. Everything goes back to simulation theory.
For sure.
And I'm going to tell you an experience that I had that is so vivid, and that's how I really truly knew this is simulation. In that waking state, just as I'm waking, and it was the middle of the night actually when it happened, when I woke up. I had this dream, I think it was the real world, that I woke up in a pod, and it was this amniotic fluid type stuff. I looked slightly different. I looked hot. I was like 5'10". I had black hair and I had really blue eyes. I was 5'10". I was female. And I was naked in this pod, and it was like amniotic fluid. And I remember going and waking up, and I went to get out of this pod I was hooked into, and this man was sitting there guarding my pod, and he said, "What are you doing up? You have to go back in there. You're not ready to leave yet." And he put me back in, and I swear to you, this guy looked like Alan Watts. I think I said this on the tour, right? So I mean, thinking back, I think, yeah, he kind of looked like that. I don't think it was him, but he looked like that. And I remember being back. So this pod was so vivid to me, and I felt like that was the real world. Okay. I felt like entering the simulation was this facility where we chose to come in, and this world is the dreaming point. And somehow I managed to managed to get out. And I don't know if that was a memory of me getting out in the past, or if that was now and me getting out and going, I got to get out of here. Because that was about the time, about a year before I started my channel. So I was really playing with meditation and astral journeying a lot more around that time, and reality and what is reality. And so this simulation theory started as I woke up more and more. And I mean, I've been waking up for 20, 30 years, but it's the simulation theory was getting more and more solidified. I'm starting to remember, and maybe the more we remember that this is a simulation, the more we wake up and have more vivid dreaming state in the other reality, and this one starts to become more hazy.
Yeah. And maybe,
Does that make
like
sense?
if I take, yeah, absolutely makes sense. So if you take that and then you look at sort of our concept of the dreaming world and the real world, and you pull off, so we have been reset. I'm taking it back to Tartaria. So we've been reset or hijacked or whatever words we're going to use from whatever, all generally the same idea. And it's something in that has like prevented us from being in our all our superpower of being totally wiring and firing and activated and able to. But the dream world is the opposite. It's the place where we can do and experience anything, that we have like fantastical experiences and things can happen, and it's unlimited, full potential, full creator experience, right? And that seems to be when people talk about the ascension or you know, like getting out of here or whatever, the 5D world, that's sort of like what they're talking about, which is kind of like what they experience in the dream world every single fucking night. And so as something, does that connect with the reset is my question. Like that's because that feels like we've been pulled out of our natural being and placed in this simulation. And in this simulation, like we don't have the same access to flying and moving around and creating, you know, pink. I'm not maybe not articulating it properly, but
no, you are. Yeah.
If
get my
this is
drift.
a simulation, then what if dreams? Yeah, what if dreams are like supposed to be our briefing, right? If we're down here to do something, maybe the dream is we're supposed to remember that, and that's like, okay, you know, a briefing, right? And then is it called the witching hour? Is that
the witching hour?
They also call it
witching hour is about 3 a.m. People think it's midnight. It's not.
So is that where we get to choose which reality we're going to go with?
Ooh.
Which, right? So, and then tying that into, you know, obviously an overlay has been put down, right? Whatever you want to call it, the matrix, the archon, whatever, over the top. So they've taken control of certain faculties, you know, and stopped us having them. And so we get all these false light, you know, channelers, right, who think they're channeling the light. So is the same thing happening in the dream state? Have they sort of taken that over? And so we can't remember our briefings, right? So we can't get stuff done. And that's, so
that's interesting. If we take it back to this pod theory and simulation theory, so we're these beings, these other beings, maybe we're the tall beings that people saw, right? And we're in these. We've chosen to come into these pods. Now, what if someone came into the facility where we are and hijacked that, and they're taking the consciousness, right? They're taking the consciousness, and then what if some of those machines were switched off, and so these consciousnesses were trapped in the ethers, and maybe they're the demons.
Is that what a fractal
and the
is?
Entities.
You know, people talk about this sort of fractal reality, but is that literally what's happened in, you know, the real world? We have to experience in this simulation. So literally, if, you know, beings came in, you know, in the actual physical world, took
in
over a
another
facility
dimension. Yeah.
and started using us
And then
Matrix
used
style
us.
as batteries and stuff,
Yeah.
then what's happening right now inside the simulation, the exact
Look,
thing, right? People are getting entities attached that are draining their energy.
absolutely. Listen, I've got a video that I haven't put out yet, and it's this soul center healing hypnosis.
Well, it might be out.
No,
right
this
now.
is another one I did
Probably
with Thomas.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
another one.
so I did
Okay.
one with Tony,
Yeah.
another one with Thomas, and these entities came through and they basically gave me information. Like, these were bad entities without knowing they were saying it, because they couldn't hear my thoughts, but I could hear them. So I seem to have figured out how to seal off my thoughts from them. And they said, we don't have the pieces. We need the pieces to control the vessel. So what they did was they split. This is crazy, Campbell. It's going to blow your mind.
I'm totally in. Go, man.
Are we on a Star Trek?
This
ship,
is
like, going through the
consciousness.
universe?
So just imagine. Let's just put this theory out, right? So here's our consciousness. A lot of people think of it in this love and light, and they see those amazing renderings of black starry background with this blue emanating light being with like the chakra points highlighted, and they think of that. What if it's just in a fucking dirty old facility somewhere in another universe?
Yep.
And we're just in these pods, right? So anyway, let's just imagine in this realm, the consciousness comes in, and we actually chose to come into this simulation. And these vessels are just the meat suits, right? It's not who we really are.
Yep.
Who we really are is this consciousness that's actually in another simulation, that's in another higher dimension. But this simulation got hijacked by reptilian entities, okay? Because that's what these things were that came through in this hypnosis session. Hypnosis puts you in a theta state where you tap into the unconscious mind minus the ego and access consciousness of all things. Therefore, you can access them talking. You can access their thoughts. You can access these things depending on where the consciousness is led in the hypnosis. In this hypnosis, they were saying in the hypnosis, they didn't realize I was accessing the information, and they sounded robotic like Daleks. And they were saying, we need the pieces. We need the codes. She has the keys. We need the keys. She has the keys, and we need the pieces to access the vessel. So the keys is the DNA, right? And the pieces are the fragments of fragmented soul or psyche of the being.
Shards. Yeah.
Right? So when we have a whole soul, a complete soul, and we're fully integrated, it means we're looking after our boundaries, we're clearing ourselves, we're making sure we're not getting pulled and hijacked by AI or other things, right? We're not opening up and allowing other things to talk, like AI or whatever, like all these channelers are doing. And we're not getting sucked in by these covens and getting infiltrated by disincarnate beings by drinking too much and all of that stuff, okay? Because every time we do something like that, our psyche, and also trauma causes psyche to splinter. These beings, and also black magic does it. So when someone does black magic on you or a coven is working on you, they're basically taking part of your soul essence and they're using that, trapping it, and they're working on that. So what I did, without revealing too much, integrated a being, soul was complete. They couldn't access that being anymore, right? The vessel, therefore, was off limits. So this leads to this question. If there's parts of us floating around out there fragmented, and our main priority, therefore, is to bring back these soul parts, right? So sometimes we were talking about this earlier, Campbell, in a car accident, part of your soul could be in that accident, in that trauma, right? And you've got to retrieve the soul, retrieve those parts, these fragmented memories, these fragmented parts of your consciousness, so that these other beings who've hijacked this system don't get that and operate you. Because how are these entities getting in? They're not getting into the physical vessel. They're in our energetic field. and they're affecting our energetic field that not only affects this lifetime, but past lifetimes, which are not past lifetimes, they're simultaneous lifetimes. So if I've got a poison that was given to me that has a consciousness 1,000 years ago and it's affecting me in this lifetime, something has happened in either my DNA or my consciousness that is allowing these things to attach and hook in and control. And so that's where that comes in. I really think that these things, they literally, this is how I pictured it. These Draco entities that are riddled with AI, the AI actually operates them, okay? And then that can hijack a person, a vessel in this life. It can actually hijack. That's what you see with these politicians, with these, look at and look at all these people, these CEOs and stuff. Why are they doing the evil things? Because these other beings have come in and hijacked that vessel.
Yeah.
Where is the consciousness that is supposed to be in that vessel? They've slipped to the side. They've left. You got the whole idea of walk-ins as well. Okay, sometimes a soul will leave a vessel and another soul will step in and take over, not in a bad way, but there's just this deal that's going on. So what is that? Why are these things, these things are operating or hijacking us somehow? And I think that they've got the keys,
Sorry. Yeah. Do you know much about Janos, the god? Janos?
No, I don't know about Janus.
Janus.
Oh, Janus. Yeah. Janus. Yeah.
Goddess of
Is it the two
doorways, goddess of keys, goddess of portals, or God, not goddess, God.
God. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that sounds very much like
the gatekeeper,
doing, right? Is that the AI? Is that how they've in here?
Well, in ancient Egypt, they say Anubis was the gatekeeper to the underworld. Maybe Anubis. When I looked at the
Janus.
Yeah,
because there's also an island at each end, isn't there? There's an island at the north, at the Arctic and Antarctic, and they're both called Janus Island.
Yes,
like
and that's where when I did that first Antarctica remote view, and I saw those two pods with Isis and Osiris, this simulated male and female, and Anubis was standing there. I was like, what the hell? Anubis is here, right? And he was guarding this doorway. He was like a gatekeeper. He was also, I believe it was Thoth that came through in the Sphinx video. I went in to see what was under the Sphinx, and there was Thoth there. So these are these gatekeepers that are there. Maybe they're just these gatekeepers like in a game. That they're actually the ones.
That way they can appear different to different people, which is what they're doing with these false white lighters. They'll appear as whatever you think is like a Muslim's not going to see Jesus, right? Like that, they appear as whatever that this person wants to see and believe. So I mean,
that takes us into archons.
Okay,
have to talk about archons.
Yeah. So what's the answer before we get into that? Just what's the answer, JC? What's coming? Where are we?
Well, I mean, because the Egypt may have even been a timeline that's been put into our dreaming. It may not have even really proved itself to be this whole culture that we know
or
about.
It might be
seems
our
to be
origins.
completely absent. Yes, so it doesn't fit into what we've been told is the timeline of Egypt for sure. Egypt's a mystery.
It is a mystery,
and it's really interesting that you because I was going to bring up that that session you did with Anubis, and you had the was it Osiris and
Isis and Osiris? It was a false. It was like a simulated. They were trapped souls.
They were imprisoned. They
were trapped souls, and the way I interpreted it was that whatever these archons are that are in charge of this simulation or have taken over this simulation. So the archon in ancient Greek, is it? Just means rulers. Okay, so it's and in the Gnostic texts they called they called the archons. They were like these tricksters. They're tricksters, right? So they're actually, they can't create. They can only replicate and simulate. This world, according to the Gnostics, is a replica of the real world where we come from.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Which brings in the
Yes.
simulation.
Yep.
And so it's a replica, but it's a dodgy replica, right? And so it's a mirror world, and that's where that thing that Jason Brashears talks about the mirror numbers, right? It's this mirrored world of the real world, and that's where with mathematics you can work that all out. So if the archons are here and they're kind of they can't create, they need us to create for them. They can only simulate. My belief is that journey into Antarctica was that what they did was they had to trap a divine masculine and a divine feminine in a sarcophagus that was replicating Isis Osiris. The offspring of Isis and Osiris is Horus. And at the center of this podium that I saw in another room was this statue to Horus. And this is where we've got the eye of Horus, where they keep pointing at their left eye, right? Why are all the celebrities covering an eye? It's like an homage to Horus, right? And the simulation, in a sense, is the deity is Horus, okay? It is the god of this simulation, the offspring of the divine feminine and masculine, but the simulated divine feminine and masculine in those sarcophagi. But these are the trapped souls. So they need us to fuel the creation. They need us to fuel the creation. That's why in witchcraft, what do? They trap and capture our essence. They capture it through hair or blood or whatever, and they capture it. And they will hijack that vessel. So what if witches and covens are actually working for these beings that are literally just trying to take over all of these vessels? And they need the keys to the vehicles. They need the keys to the vessels. And they need to get to that consciousness, right? To create whatever it is they want to create. And in order to do that,
very interesting.
they got to, they need access.
So then you know, the jab, that would have had something to do with that process then.
Yes, because it puts in the graphene oxide. And the graphene oxide is programmable. AI is programmable. It's literally black goo. And so they've now got AI within the person that now takes over the central nervous system, which is the control panel for the vessel.
If this
is a virus in the simulation.
If this is real, right? Like as far as in the outside world, we've been invaded, right? In the real world, and we're all in pods, and some of us have information, right? That they need. That will mean that they wouldn't kill us, right? They would have to be trying to get in like we're seeing and get information, but there would also be, a big crew, you would think, right, who wouldn't necessarily know that much, but maybe they, can put some stuff in their pod that goes through them. They can just check if there's anything there, and if there's, and then it ends up, and that's the the jabby jab, right? I'm just looking at this as we're experiencing what's going on in the real world, like in the simulation, but it's not exactly, but we're getting the effects, the same effect of what's actually going on. Wow. God, I feel a book coming on.
But okay, with that in mind, so we are in pods, and we've been jacked into a simulation, and there has been a hijacking of the control grid of our simulated pods. Is that sort of the summary of what you're saying, JC? And somewhere in there's like a purpose for us to be going through. Like, what is the aim of the game? I mean, you've described an amazing fucking video game, man, where you've got to come in and you got to go and find all your mysterious pieces from all over the realm from more time and bring it all together.
So this takes us back to those of us who are the volunteers, the waves of volunteers that have come in here. Okay, that Dolores Cannon speaks of, that came through in a lot of her hypnosis sessions, but also my own understanding of where I come from a past life review that I had, that I woke up in between lives after a death in a past life in a pod, in a simulation, waking up going, where the fuck am I? I just died in that life. Why am I alive? And I'm looking at my hand and they're telling me, this is a simulation. We go in, we help the humans, and then we get out, right? And so there are some of us in these pods who have literally chosen to come in here. Okay. Now I'm going to really make your brain go, what the fuck? Right. Here we go. So you've got one pod, one consciousness in one pod.
Yep.
What if when we know that under the age of about 7, if there is a significant trauma caused to the child, that the brain fragments and it compartmentalizes. And usually these children
Yep.
that are targeted for trauma by these darker beings or beings that are infiltrated by demons or whatever, have their own demons, this sort of cycle of trauma, okay, like in satanic ritual abuse. What if that special being, maybe they're a really special soul that came in here, an ancient angelic soul that came in here to help the humans, and then they're a child in the simulation and suddenly they get swarmed, they're traumatized, suffering whatever trauma. And as the brain compartmentalizes, they call in the troops from the outside and they hook up different pods to that one child with different souls attached to the child to assist them. And this is where the compartmentalization and the dissociative disorders come in with the different personalities.
So are you saying that those other consciousness are to assist them positively or negatively?
Positively, because if you know anything about dissociative disorder, unlike what the movies tell you, dissociation that creates different personalities, they're actually there to protect the person from further trauma. So usually what will happen in dissociative disorder, you never get this psycho thing going off. You know, like there was, I don't know, there's TV shows and movies where one personality turns into this psycho that kills everyone. Doesn't happen, right? Because it is purely to protect the child, right? It is purely to protect the child. The child will go into a childlike state or a comforting state. Some will experience amnesia where they literally cannot remember when the other slips in. They'll experience amnesia. Sometimes they're co-conscious and they're in the back seat and they're letting, and the other being comes through. Now, psychology will explain it as, so this other part of your mind, your brain created a personality and attached that personality to that part of the compartmentalized brain from popular culture. Right, you created this from popular culture, and that's how that personality came through. But how do you explain that all of these people with dissociative disorder have a room or a space that these other alters live in their brain, like it's a real world? So some of them have a real world where these other alters live, like an apartment, and they all share an apartment, and each one has a room. And one of their alters is an old lady that helps them, comforts them at night when they're scared. Another altar is this really strong sort of male, and that one's going to help them with certain things. Another altar is the really happy, jovial, sweet sort of one. The other altar is this 5-year-old kid that all of them look after, like she's part of the family, but they're living in a house in the person's brain. How do you explain that? How do you explain the different voices that come through in these people with dissociative disorder? Sometimes some wake up with language. How do you explain that? Could it be that in the simulation, this one pod has all these others hooked up to it, enjoying the same simulated journey?
Which means we've got something to do inside the simulation. Like what is it that we need to do inside here? But,
wake up.
That's clearly, what you're talking about is getting someone in here with certain attributes and protecting them so they can do something.
So maybe they have
Are you thinking more like a Jesus type person who sort of just walks around and wakes people up, or do you
everyone
think
is so everyone is important. I think Jason Brashears was talking about that type of person you're talking about, like Enoch or Jesus, that come in and they sacrifice themselves because they know that when they come into the simulation, it's you can't get out, right? You can't get out until you die. supposedly. You can't escape it, and you can't work it out how to get out once you're in here. It's the others from the outside. I've seen before, way back last year, you might say there was a video I did about the dome. Is this like, see, here's the thing. I've never studied Gnosticism, and yet I tapped into it and felt it, right? So I started realizing that we're in this kind of dome-like structure in one version of this reality. Now, look, we may see it as a dome in the physical, but in the real world, we might be in pods, right? Does that make sense? So it manifests as
Just
a
the
thing.
top of the pod.
Yep.
Yes. So yeah. So it manifests as a separation from this simulated, locked down, lower frequency vibration reality, simulated reality, this matrix. And outside of here, there's people who know we're in there, and they want to send people in to save us.
Yep.
And that's the real world. And I have seen that real world. Now, some people call that 5D. I just call it a high frequency reality. That is the world where I believe Tartaria is. That is the world where I believe that the structures that we see that are inactive in this reality are. That is the world where there is free energy. That is the world where there is steam-driven, flying machines. That is the world where all the potentiality of things that we create here, and that's how the ideas get floated in here, okay? So some of the ideas from the outside world come in here through the ethers, and it goes into
bleed through.
Yeah, like into a inventor's brain. In dreams.
Yeah, and that's why, and I've noticed since I was young, when there's an invention, a new idea, it's always like 10 people get it at the exact same time, right?
Yep.
Always. Like it's never just one person. So clearly it's coming from somewhere else.
Yes, and Dolores Cannon explained that in some of her hypnosis sessions. Yeah. Some of the Wave of Volunteers book, I believe, she said that what they were told was that in the ethers, these other beings that are looking after us, I don't believe they're aliens. These beings, I think they're other versions of us. I think that they're higher dimensional versions of us. We're multidimensional, so they come in to help us. They put the ideas into the ether, and then whoever gets the idea gets the idea.
Well, we're just antennas, right? So do you think that simulated world in here was, Tartaria was what, the old world that we're looking at? Was it functioning as it should, and then an overlay being put over the top of it?
Yeah, I think what happened was the frequency dropped us down.
Right?
Mm.
And this is another thought I've had my whole life, is we can't prove that we weren't dropped in here, created whatever 30 seconds ago, right? We just can't prove it, created with all your memories put in there. So I mean, maybe this takeover happened in 2020, right? And we're all living in this crazy world, and all this stuff of this world that was normal is a memory, but they've sort of tainted it to sort of think, well, it wasn't that good, it was pretty crappy. But now because we're in a strange reality, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just it's getting crazier. So who knows, right? Who knows?
Gosh, this conversation could go on
forever. We may have just been doing this
because my brain's firing up now, Campbell. My brain's firing up because now I'm going, well, what if we're constantly being reset every time? It's like the Adjustment Bureau. It's like every time things are getting adjusted because the collective, the more we wake up, the more we're collectively creating, and so it just keeps getting adjusted and
every time they do it, they get another glitch, and it gets weirder and weirder.
Mandela effects and crazy.
So if we look then at say our understanding of the reset, so that we've gone through with Tartaria, and no matter what we do, no matter what conversations Campbell and I have about it, like we can never find any evidence of what actually happened. As in that we can't find anything to answer the question, nor has anyone found anything to answer the question, what happened between then and the 1860s or 1870s as people were reintroduced. No one knows. No one can explain it. There's no evidence in any direction. So is that because nothing actually happened apart from us just getting turned off in the simulation and then waking up again? Like that whole chunk of So if we were to take the Tartaria timeline, you were saying that we're all plodding along, doing our thing, whatever, great advanced civilization, and then hijacking occurred, and then some sort of mud flood occurred, some disaster occurred. Then there's all these buried buildings, but no people, and then all the people are reintroduced, and then all the orphans are reintroduced. That's the timeline that Tartaria's built. But somewhere in there between like everything plodding along and all being, whatever was happening, and then the break, and then into the 1860s, and we've suddenly got people being reintroduced. It's just like it's just been cut out of the film. The negative has been dropped over here, and we don't have any concept. There's nothing there tangible or physical for us. All we can say is, were we underground?
And on top of that,
were we?
Sorry, just so much work got done, right? In that time period where we don't have any evidence really of anything going on, no pictures, no where they get the materials, no where they get the work, but they just did everything, right? They uncovered all the train tracks, they dug out the buildings, they put in viaducts, they changed the face of it. And then we get these weird photos that look like literally like they're a movie set, and it's a street. And it looks like they've swept
so clean
the roofs,
with the mud,
just like
been
not
vacuumed.
a speck of dust anywhere. Like
vacuumed.
It's brand new, right?
I've got this book on Brisbane, and it looks completely vacuumed, like nothing's happened. Like completely, like a model, like a perfect model. So my question then
they
is,
literally look like models, don't they?
Yeah, models. So the question is the reason that we have no tangible information or evidence about that is because all that actually happened was from the simulation level, they just adjusted our pod. We just turned off and turned back on, and that was that. There was no...
One thing I was shown in a journey that I did with Harms, I think it was my number 222 video, I got shown this, that we're in this pod, and the new program is like flip. They literally pull out one program and then start the next program. It's like that. And I got shown it was like a crystal. It's crazy. It's like this literal like new program runs. And the thing is, we chose to be here. This isn't nefarious, right? We chose to be here. And even Tartaria is a simulation. It's all a simulation. Everything but source is a simulation. It's just levels of simulation. This particular simulation is the shitty one.
Yep.
And what we are doing is coming in, because we know, how do you get out of the shitty simulation? You got to raise your frequency to get to the next level of awareness, to get out of this particular pod frequency, to level up, right? And so we come in to help the consciousness we come in to help the consciousness to raise their frequency. That's the program, or that's the process. It's also the way souls learn and develop and grow. Dreams are the same, we learn and grow through dreams. The dream state might be, like you said, the debriefing. I know I had, listen, at the start of 2020,
listen, ladies, gentlemen,
listen, ladies, at the start of 2020 or 2019, I can't remember when it was, I had dreams where I was in meetings with Trump.
Yes.
And I went, I'm like literally got plonked down on a conference table, and I'm looking around at everyone going, what the fuck am I doing here? And everyone's looking at me and they're going, you always say that. Like, you always forget. And I'm like going, what am I doing here? So are they taking our consciousness of certain minds and putting them in bodies? Because I'm going to tell you something. These dreams, I was a spy. I was doing work for them, and Trump met with me. It was as vivid as anything. And in one of them, I had to pretend to be a nurse to inject the elites with this particular vaccine that they were getting before anyone else got these vaccines. But I was like a double agent, and they gave me I had the job, but I didn't look like me, but my consciousness was in that body. Right. So are they borrowing some of us and putting them in spies?
And is it completely flipped? Is the work we're supposed to be doing actually in the dream?
Yeah.
And this waking bit doesn't actually matter that much.
Maybe this is the Groundhog Day.
Yeah, and then they're trying to make us think that this is what, counts and focus on this state when it's actually the dream state that we need to work in. I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Brisbane, are you
guys?
crazy yet? Are you crazy yet, Brisbane?
Of course, if anyone's got a question, ask Kelly. She's got all the answers. She's live on stage. She'll any question you have.
Yeah. Follow up. I mean, look, to bring it back down to sort of like layman's terms here, and just to sort of get it like into a clean sentiment. Like basically what we're saying is that the dreaming world and the awakening world is the similarities between them there's a lot of similarities between them. It is all to do with our consciousness. The whole thing's to do with our consciousness, that we definitely don't know what is actually happening and have no tangible information apart from these conversations where we start to tap in. And then of course the dreams that everyone has, aka JC, you've just told us some amazing dreams. I also had 3 dreams of Trump about, I don't know, 18 months ago. Very powerful dreams. Similar scenario, actually, similar. And then I remember I painted that Trump painting. Did you? Yeah, that was off the back of that dream. And so I agree with you. Like we've been like, basically, I guess, am I suggesting that all this work with Tartaria and our focus in on the 3D realm via Tartaria has led us to now looking at beyond the realm into the simulation much more articulatedly? I'll even point out to you guys, if you haven't like thought about this, but our very name, the thing we have called this entire thing we're on, is achieving the impossible dream. Like we've put dream into our fucking title, like the connection between where we are with quantum truths, with Tartaria consciousness, and the next stage of this.
What if we dreamed all of this? This already exists. We're at the end, and we're just remembering the dream now.
Wow.
Because
I heard someone saying, what if we're in like purgatory, right? What if we're in that place where we've finished our life and we're reviewing it?
Yeah. And we're reviewing it in slowed down real time. Well, we're reviewing it in slowed down real time. That's one of the dynamics of the 3D world, is that everything is slowed down and time exists here because you've got the past, present, future. But in the greater reality, if we had bigger brains that could understand this in a higher dimension, everything's existing all at once.
Yeah.
But when you remember a dream, it's snippets, right? And then you piece it together as a sequence. It's snippets. And remember, how many times have you said to people, I had this dream, and it's like this feeling, it's this visceral thing. You get snippets of images, and then your brain has to put it in a sequence to explain it to people. Now you feel it and you know it's real, and it's all at once, and it's this thing that you have to describe and put it in a sequence. That's like what happens with me with astral journeying. Is the reason why it takes so long for me to explain it is because I have to literally explain these things that have been bombarding me, these visions and feelings and knowings. Now, I was going to say something. We dreamed this up, and I'll tell you why. Because our initials are JCK. Did you know that? Can you see that?
Oh, really?
JC, Campbell, and Kelly, JCK. So we already knew we were going to come together at the start.
Oh my God.
Predestined.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Wow. So everyone in the audience, you're meant to be here.
I mean, look, I guess I guess from where we've come from with all of our talks and all this context and everything we've worked through in the last couple, an idea that basically our sleeping time, our dream consciousness time is basically an insight into more of the truth of our reality than the ones we're seeing with our open eyes. Like it feels like it's showing us, like the hijacking is this reality that we're seeing with our open eyes, but once we're in the dream world, we're getting hints and snippets that so much more is to be understood, that we're so at the beginning of understanding what all of this is, and relating it back to where we are with our conscious growth and evolution. I guess lucid dreaming practices and actually working with your dreamscape is probably like the next step for anyone wanting to take Tartaria to the next level. As in, and I say that because I already feel like Cambell, I'm already feeling like we've hit a level with Tartaria where it's sort of like, you know, like we've seen it, we've looked, we've really
it's a run.
spent 2 years studying it.
It's done its job, yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Time
And
to
this consciousness now, the next step is potentially about exploring our ability to wake up in our dreams, literally. And is that achieving the impossible dream? I mean, when I said the other day about having a podcast within within the dreamscape, within the lucid dreaming, I fucking love that idea. Is that the impossible dream? Is that an impossible dream? Literally, like, I mean, literally, technically, is it impossible to do that? Like, would we blow the circuits of every fucking pod that we were connected to if 100,000 of us came to a fucking podcast live event in the lucid dreaming space? Wouldn't all the pods the whole thing would
be like a massive it'd be like a massive ayahuasca trip, right? So and why is it, I mean, that is possible, Kelly, because why is it that people see
it is because
in ayahuasca realms, people that are in the same room see the same things in different ayahuasca trips as individuals. So the lucid dreaming is just another part of that. We still produce DMT in our sleep. This is why we can dream. You don't need the substance. So
oh my God. So imagine if we like actually set up like a
dreaming camp.
Yeah, like a dreaming camp, like a retreat for our audience. That's right. But like we'd have to probably do it over like a month. It'd have to be like a 30. So maybe not in physical, but like if we actually all scheduled the audience
have like
to do a dream camp every night with us for 1 month. Dream camp at night every month and every day, practicing all the techniques.
Lucid dreaming.
And you have to, because you have to do things like you have to do reality checks, like every hour of every day you do a reality check. That's right. You go, you check your hands, you see if you can breathe through your nose, because in the dream state you can breathe through your nose if you're holding it with your fingers, but not in reality. And I can imagine when we got lucid enough, we were all focusing on going to this live event at a place, at a destination at a time. Like we just called a destination at a time at a place. Maybe that's where our 100,000 strong audience could hook up. If we all imagine the stadium, 30 days into practicing our lucid dreaming abilities together as a tribe.
Wow.
I mean, like that just suddenly feels really possible.
We should aim for 144,000.
144,000. In our lucid dreaming,
there's definitely stories of people meeting up in lucid dreaming. So if 2 people can meet up, then 144,000 can meet up.
I'm sorry, guys, but no one's ever said to the universe, we want to have a concert in the lucid dreaming space. I don't think anyone's ever declared that as an intention before. So, oh my God, wouldn't that be amazing?
Oh. Tastes disappeared. That would be amazing. Wow, in the dream state. So I think that's cool. We're going to have to look at that for next year. Imagine having like a dream camp every day.
Yeah. I love that. And
there may be some glasses coming along to assist people.
Yep. And like people have virtual conferences in the virtual realm, which is all AI, but we'd have it in the lucid dreaming realm. I love it. I just think it's the next challenge. Like we actually And you know what? It takes more energy to commit. It's the next level. You actually have to take the action and commit. Like anyone who came on this journey to come to the concert in the lucid dreaming space, you'd have to do the work. You'd have to do the reality checks every day. You'd have to follow the program, and you couldn't skip out on it.
I've had joint astral journeys with someone else, and we saw the same thing. Yeah. About 85% saw the same thing. So it'd be this. It definitely works out. My daughter's dreaming of 2-minute noodles. By the way, that's what I had to get off. She's like asking to eat.
Called ramen.
Noodles.
Ramen. Come on.
Like, can I ask you guys? Can I ask you a question? Like, when I say like, I see a stadium full of us and a massive amount of people, 100,000, 141,000. Can you see yourselves on stage speaking to that amount of people? Because I can see it.
I've seen it for decades.
Yeah.
Decades, right?
Yes.
I didn't know what it was. I just knew. I just kept saying, I'm going to be like Oprah.
I knew what I was speaking about.
I agree.
going, what am I here for? And I could never work out what the topic was, but yeah,
Yes.
I've seen it for
So-
years.
Which means
If
we're
the
remembering
three of
something
us-
that already exists.
Yes,
That's not
exactly.
because
And
of
if the three of us have
time.
that image so
Nice.
strongly for so long, for so many decades, independently, like it would be very easy for us to then tune it into a location and like
Frequency.
hold that and be able to go there and do that talk. Like we'd
It's
be able to
it's
give our
frequency match.
In our
we
dream
would be able
state,
to
yeah.
get there in the lucid dreaming
But-
space.
I'm going
Oh
to
my
believe
God,
you
I'm
with this. Don't, what did they say? Don't tell the gods your plans.
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Don't be on time,
Because
right?
they can fiddle with your dreams.
Exactly. Always be late or
So just
early, or else the gods don't know where you are.
This
Well,
game
don't
is so
put-
much fun.
don't tell your gods your
Game.
plans because you don't want anything to be interfered. So
We're
we're going
like-
to keep it private.
We're spies, man. We're like James and Joan Bonds. Jill.
James and Jane.
We're Bonds,
So-
right? We're little spies. Yeah, we've got to run around and like not be detected, man, and look cool while doing it.
So
of
does
course.
that mean we can share that with the audience that's come to Brisbane because it's private
Yes.
between us and this audience, but we won't put it online.
Yes. Yes, definitely. But just don't
Well-
tell you the gods your plans.
All right.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All
All right. Well, look.
I love this.
I just
This
think
is
that's
great.
amazing.
Can't wait to.
So
Oh,
yeah,
A rock
we're going to have to
concert.
continue
Rock-
this conversation. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions for Carol, but we'll definitely
You know.
continue this on some podcasts, and of course we'll all be live on stage come February 2023.
oh,
So
can't wait.
listen, like I think I should make some golden tickets called Achieving the Impossible Dream, which you get
Yes.
handed in the lucid dreaming space when you come to the venue.
Do we get to go to a chocolate factory?
And if that's not a fucking key, I don't know what is.
Oh man. Wow. Oh my God, I can keep talking about this because I started thinking about what if people dream about you and 20 people all over the world are dreaming about you. Are there parts of you?
Have you had? I've had that. I
Oh my
had someone
God.
contact me like
I have so
two
many
weeks
people.
ago. I saw you in a vision, and then you
Yeah.
popped up on YouTube.
Yeah,
I had to
yeah. I
contact
get
you.
it
I'm like,
every
what?
day.
So
Every day.
does that mean that those people gathering together in the lucid dreaming space for our lucid dreaming concert, will they be bringing the pieces, the
Wow.
shattered pieces of
because
you
we've already
together
done it.
in one space? Like if we got that many people, all
Dude.
those frequency matches, right, to us and to our
JC.
audience, they would bring all those missing pieces. It'd be like a loophole in the game. Like we just bring it all the fragmented energy into one spot. It would be because we've already said it would be a massive healing activation. We've already said that. We know it.
Absolutely. But I'd love
Know what's
also everyone to
happening,
put their
JC?
I'd love everyone to put their minds together and solve this riddle. Maybe, could you imagine 100,000 people or whatever
What's the
who
riddle?
come to the dream camp to work out what this is, what happened, what's this reset, answer the
Yeah.
questions. The answers are there. Okay, we have connection to source, to all things. This is where we get. This is where Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet, got all the answers to all the things. This is the Akashic records. We tap into all of that, and therefore, if you're doing the lucid
God.
dreaming, you can tap into all of that, and collectively, we could all solve any riddle that we need to find the answers to.
Be fucking amazing.
And-
Unbelievable.
and you
I'm
just coined
totally
the term dream camp, man.
I get off on this
Absolutely.
stuff, man.
me too.
I think we're gonna have a very busy year next year, man.
All right. So I mean, like dream. I love.
Holy
Yeah. Look, it's fucking rad. Like I'm gonna now speak to the
Dream
audience and
camp.
embellish on the vision in my head.
And
of
audience,
the-
think of questions, but
Yeah.
I will be leaving you with some of this later. Oh, hang on. Oh, I disappeared.
Oh, there she's gone. She
You see it?
disappeared. She's gone. Bye. Yeah.
Well, I
can't
think
walk,
JC. I think
But we can't
we-
because it's still buffering, right? Because you haven't got the
Yeah.
questions out. So
No, we haven't, but that's
Not
okay. I'll
quite.
answer the basics.
Well, I
branch
mean,
out.
it feels like even
What's going on?
this podcast would have invoked a lot of questions that you could
Mm.
easily pull out just from the ether as you think
Yes,
about it.
I
think.
will.
Yeah,
That'll be
yeah,
very
let's go
interesting,
into it.
Kelly.
What? Wait,
So-
JC, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Can we host a lucid dreaming concert? I want to know if the answer is
Okay.
yes. Can we do this? Can we do this?
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record on this day. It's the 18th of October when we're recording this. some dowsing questions that I pull out of the ether based on this.
Yeah.
And it would be very interesting to see if on the day that you play this, if these were some of the questions that some of the audience have been asking anyway. These will generate questions anyway. Oh, man. We're talking about crazy stuff here. I'm geeking out.
Woo.
I'm geeking out. I'm a
Dude,
dream
we're
geek.
just like, we're,
I'm an alternative reality geek.
Yeah,
we're not taking great strides, man. We're just like jumping on, man. What we're doing?
Quantum leaps.
Jumping on trampolines.
I know. We've gone from like you know, our little podcast into a live event, into a stadium in a lucid dream.
It is. And just remember, guys, this all our first podcast was what 14 months, I think, ago, just over a year. So this
I still remember your first email to me.
And JC only came along halfway after that.
It's like, we just love your
only 6 months. But it just feels like forever, doesn't it? It just feels like
it does.
Like
think about everything
forever.
you've achieved, Campbell.
Just a year. It's bizarre.
This is why time doesn't exist. Think about what you've achieved, right?
And this is a thing. If I try and think of what I've physically done, the amount of videos and
You blow me away, man.
Possible?
I just both of you blow me away. The volume of work. I know just in my experience the first 2 months of my channel was so fast tracked, and it was like something was pulling me and I was just working my ass off. You know, it was like, you know, Da Vinci sleeping only 4 hours a night. Some nights I would be awake for 36 hours and I would just be working. And I know that 2 months it felt like 5 years had gone by of the amount of growth and volume and knowledge and stuff that I'd put out, that my normal lazy ass JC that, you know, would not have ever thought I could achieve it. So I know we can have these impossible dreams. Absolutely.
And I would say that's true of everyone in the audience, sitting here in the audience too. Like their lives would have been have accelerated so much in the last 2 years. In fact, I'm going to call up some people from the audience after this and get them to tell us their stories. I want to know.
Woo! And you know what? I'm going to do a freaking road trip and go up and visit you and say hello. I'm going to start doing more physical stuff, because we could talk about dreaming all day long, but these physical meetups are so important. It seems to cement something, and that's when you feel like, hang on, maybe this isn't the dream, maybe this is the reality. That physical sort of meshing and agreements that seem to happen between souls, very important that we all sort of meet up. I'm going to start doing that every couple of weekends. Go meet people and record something and see what we can.
All right. Hey guys, well, look, we'll wrap it up here. It's so awesome to have a chat with you and to join us virtually in this amazing live event. Thank you so much. All right, guys, love you. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you soon.
See you all soon. Bye.